But now there's been another huge price explosion. Part of that is, well, everything that was going on. There was really a bottleneck, a lack of production on new vehicles. Over the last 3 years, there have been about 15 to 19 million less new vehicles produced than normally would be produced. This put a lot of pressure on used vehicles. Why? Because, well, all the same players that have traditionally always been there, all those dealers were competing for the same used vehicles. First, used prices went up, and new prices didn't go up at first. I remember 2020, 2021, next to no price increases. From 21 to 22, a very little price increase. People on YouTube were saying don't buy, prices were too expensive because interest rates had gone up a little. Prices had gone up a little, $2,000-$3,000 on a truck, and people on YouTube, a lot of creators were saying, don't buy, prices will go down. And they're right, prices will eventually go down. They have to, or solutions, there's possible solutions. But what we saw is prices went from being $2,000-$3,000 more, sometimes $5,000, and then $5,000 more, and still, next to zero, very close, 0% interest or very close to 0% interest. I saw the interest rates increasing for mortgages and for loans, and I knew those interest rates on the new vehicles were being subsidized, you could say, paid for by the manufacturers. So my huge advice was buy. And I hope a lot of you did buy. I hope a lot of you have locked in your interest rates as you can when you order with Ford. But really what happened from then is we got hit in 2023 with massive price increases. So the market is really clamoring for a solution. Yes, construction companies who are making, 20, 30% more revenue can afford a 20% increase on the new market, especially when the trades. Remember, the new used prices went up first, and then after about a year and a half lag, then the massive price on the new went up. And we're probably going to see the same thing. So this is really the best market advice I can give. When we start to see used prices come down, and based on how much they come down, and they're primed to come down. Already this spring, my dealership, there's pretty much everything on the lot was rebated by $1,000 or $1,500 because they didn't want to get stuck with those vehicles. So they wanted to be within the lowest prices on the market. They actually sold pretty much all their inventory, refilled with new inventory, and in staying at the lowest prices, advertised prices on the market with no dealer fees and no games, because don't accept dealer fees, don't accept added on fees like $1,000 preparation fee and $1,000 dealer fee. Folks, we're past those days. Don't accept market adjustment increases and don't accept dealer fees as well as preparation fees, especially not on new when the manufacturers pay the dealers to prepare these vehicles mechanically as well as aesthetically. They're paid for by the manufacturer, so don't pay extra for that. So there's huge demand for affordable trucks, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. What affordable trucks or relatively affordable trucks can we actually expect to come to market? I'm basing a lot of this show on a few comments that were left in the last few weeks of people saying, you know what, I've waited quite some time for my Maverick. Forget it, I'm going to buy a Toyota Stout. Or forget it, I'm going to buy a Dodge Rampage. So we're going to be talking about the Dodge Rampage. We're going to be talking about the Toyota Stout. And of course, we'll be talking about the Ford F-150, Ford Ranger, and of course the Ford Maverick. So really got important information for that. But I have been seeing used prices to continue the market talk before we get into the particular models. Give everyone time to get into this live this evening, but this market information is really important. I've been pretty much spot on the last 3 years, and I think I've got it right this time as well. Previously, used prices went up, then new prices, manufacturers didn't bring up the prices, but so many dealers were, and across all manufacturers, were increasing the price so much, and new manufacturers of new vehicles were thinking, hey, our costs are going through the roof. They're really increasing, and the dealers are the ones making the money. They're the ones adding 5, 10, 15,000 in some cases. We even saw, $50,000 markups on Corvettes, $100,000 markups on some Mercedes. That was worst case scenario. We're talking about the extreme examples here, but markups or market adjustment fees of $5,000 to $15,000 on vehicles was very common. Why was that happening? Well, 15 to almost 20, somewhere between 15 and 20 million less new vehicles were produced. That means less trade-ins, less new vehicles, less used vehicles, my apologies. And those used vehicles, the valve of used vehicles coming in, that can get shut off very quickly, and what's in yards can disappear very quickly. Well, that put the market into a panic. Dealers started paying more, a whole lot more for vehicles, thus having to sell more those vehicles. The likes of CarMax and others that were trying to buy up all the available used trade-ins on the market. Well, they really drove up the market because, if you were watching in the last 3 years, if you're on YouTube, there are a lot of stories about, the various CarMax and other companies offering people, $5,000 more than what the dealer had offered them for their vehicle. Well, they're trying to really buy up the market so that they have all the vehicles, and then if they have a good percentage of them, they can more or less manipulate, ask the price they want. And they helped create part of that scarcity, but the base source of that scarcity, of course, just like how stocks can get driven up by desire, even if the company isn't making any extra money and isn't being any more productive, well, it was two factors that caused the used vehicles to really go up in price. Less coming in, demand going up, and major corporations really paying above what was considered fair market value, so that instead dealers, of course, and it makes sense. CarMax needed vehicles to survive. But dealers also needed vehicles to survive, because when you're getting 50% less new vehicles, what did every dealer logically tell themselves? We told ourselves, we're not stressed. Okay, we've got 50% less new vehicles. Well, we'll just keep all our trade-ins. Traditionally, we would have sent off either to auction or to people that, wholesalers that come to our dealership, that come to buy. There'd be a good percentage that gets sold off. But we needed to keep those vehicles to keep the tax collectors away, to pay the mortgage, to pay taxes and all the expenses that a business has to pay. So we're like, we'll balance the books. We'll keep, we'll lose 50% new vehicles. Well, we'll just keep, all our trade-ins, and we'll fix them up so that they're still quality. Normally ones that we'd say, this isn't quite good enough. This is too much of a hassle. It needs too much work. Instead of sending it to the auction, we'll just put the work in and we'll sell it. Well, CarMax also wanted to survive, and they're thinking, well, we better just pay crazy prices to make sure we get vehicles, because if we don't have vehicles, well, they also have mortgages to pay, they also have taxes to pay, and they also have interest to pay when they have vehicles to sell. So anyways, there was really too many buyers for the supply and the used. Eventually, the new prices went skyrocketing, dealers asked more, costs went up, manufacturers had much higher costs because they were also competing for all those, microchips and whatnot. And then the result is you end up with higher prices. Well, that's what's going on in the market today, and what's going to be going on in the market tomorrow, one of two things. Ford and others, Ford, Ram, GM, they're either going to start selling less full-size trucks, and the trucks they do sell are going to be to construction companies and companies that are making, more money than they used to make, and they can swallow the pill of those increased prices, because 60, 70, 80,000 US dollars for a Ram, a GM, or a Ford is common. What you shouldn't accept right now, if you are in the market, do not accept to pay any market adjustment fee. So do not pay over MSRP. Don't pay any dealer fees, and don't pay any preparation fees, and don't believe them if they tell you to have the vehicle you have to buy an extended warranty or a life insurance policy. All that not legal, not true. You don't have to buy anything extra with your truck to get it. Would you agree with that? Am I saying something out of line here? You're the
No, I guess you're
that was
good.
your field.
I see in the comment that people say you're right, and yeah.
Well, I appreciate that the community is supporting me. I really appreciate it because I'm here to give you the information to save you thousands. Hence why I will say it's worth subscribing. You hit the subscribe button, it's absolutely free. And I can basically promise you, unless you know everything about the automobile industry and all the ins and outs, you will save thousands of dollars if you watch this channel on a regular basis. So where's the market going for tomorrow? And when I say tomorrow, I mean 3 to 8 months. Well, within the next 3 to 8 months, one of two things has to happen. Either all the truck manufacturers produce less because they're selling a little less now, or they bring along small trucks so that the people who can no longer afford an F-150 buy a Maverick. By the way, I'm going to say something that I don't think anyone else on YouTube or no one that I watch has said yet. I actually would predict that bringing in small trucks is a requirement and is far more likely than having huge price reductions on the full-size trucks. And I know I've been saying it now for about 8 months that I suspected either this summer or this fall there'd be pretty impressive rebates in the form of either interest rates or rebates. MSRP prices won't come down unless we're talking about the EVs where the prices are non-negotiable, like Tesla and Ford for their EVs. Supposed to be. That's only official as of January 2024 at Ford, but good dealers are already following Ford's rules. Why break the rules, folks? Play it safe. That's why today we actually didn't run over someone at the bottom of our mountain or hill. We were following the rules. We were driving 30 actually in a 50 zone. Kilometers. And I spotted the child in advance, so I actually went from about 38 down to 30, and they ran right in front of the truck. And as it was, had I not hit the brakes, I would have hit them at 30. But had I still been doing 38, well, that kid would have got smoked, we could say. But follow the rules. There's often a reason why the rules are there. So follow Ford's rules if you're a Ford dealer. You'll get more vehicles in return, and you'll get better and nicer vehicles for your lot. So CAFE rules. CAFE rules is the government ensuring that manufacturers get to 50 miles per gallon for the fleet average. That means all your models combined, considering volume as well. So if let's say you make a Ram 1500 and it has a V8 that isn't fuel efficient because it goes back 20 years. It goes back to before I could even grow a beard properly. I can basically grow a decent beard now, but 20 years ago, I was a joke. So you remember me from back then. I couldn't grow a beard,
You
right?
had a baby face without that.
I had a little baby face and I couldn't grow facial hair because I was still just a young man. With time comes wisdom, and here's my wisdom of the day, having watched the automobile market for a very long time now. We've got these CAFE rules coming along. So if you sell 800,000 Ford F-150s and you need to get to an overall volume average of 50 miles per gallon, you can only have so many not fuel efficient models, and you need to make sure you sell them in low quantities. Otherwise, you're going to pay crazy dollars to the tax man. So small trucks are very likely going to be coming out at other manufacturers because it's a solid solution to keep your fan base and still make money. So let's say you're used to living off 800,000 F-150 sales per year, but you can't get the vehicle to 50 miles per gallon. fleet overall average. So let's say you're doing 30 miles per gallon. Well, that's missing the mark by a huge percentage. So what do you need to really do? Well, you need to sell 500,000 F-150s that do 30 miles per gallon, so that the people that, or 400,000, the true people that need an F-150 is probably about half the F-150s on the road. Same thing for the Dodge Ram 1500. Dodge Ram 1500 is an incredible example of being in huge trouble with these CAFE rules, because most Ram 1500 owners use them for a hockey bag or a football bag in the back, or to go pick up at bars. It's or for the golf clubs, but it's a very comfortable truck. But it's not the right work truck if you're going to be working it hard. If you're going to be putting 1,500 pounds in that truck bed every day, plus a driver and a passenger, 2 workers, you're going to be breaking the law every single day, because the payload on a typical Ram 1500 is about 1,300 pounds if you're going with the classic, 13 to 1,400 pounds if you're going with the classic model, which is the more affordable, older tech model, but, a good deal price-wise. But not if you want to work with it. So what's the solution? It's to sell less big trucks and more small trucks. Or the other solution is to make, if you still want to survive as, Ford, Dodge, GM, Toyota in regards to at least selling trucks, which is what more and more people are interested in. We want the space. It's super practical. We love our Ford F-150 Lightning. You can attest to how practical. You can just say, what were we doing with F-150 this weekend?
Yeah, we bring a lot of stuff to do the gardening. So, yeah. And I don't know what's the word in English.
We had about 12 mulch bags, the bigger jumbo-sized mulch bags.
Yeah, 15
Yeah,
bags.
15. So very
few plants, and we have a lot of space. It was practical.
We have a video coming out where we put 30 stones in the bed, and also we're hauling 30 stones behind the F-150. So in North America here, we need trucks. We have properties that, require these. We're not just all 30 stories high in the people factories, these apartments that they want us all renting and living in.
The big cities.
In the big cities, sucking off pollution. But anyways, I'm not a big fan of living in the big city. I like my big truck, and I like having some land and gardens. Anyways, getting back on topic, manufacturers have this problem with the 50 miles per gallon, and they're going to need to sell a whole lot of... They need to wean people. They need to get people off the big trucks, or they need to get them up to 50 miles per gallon. Now, how do you get a big truck up to 50 miles per gallon? Well, you can make them electric. But how many people are upset and don't like the idea of an electric truck? In the comments section, I can watch it go by. You guys can say whether you like the idea of an electric truck or not, but that's not going to make, at least 50% of the market isn't going to be happy if that's your solution. So my prediction in the next 3 to 8 months to wrap up the market talk is I do expect prices to come down on the 1500s, on the F-150. I'm expecting interest rates to continue to be better, because already we've seen good improvements over the last 2 months in regards to interest rates. And I do expect to continue to see rebates go up a bit more. But the real solution long term is going to be selling a whole lot of... You still want to keep your truck fan base. You don't want to lose them to a competitor that's willing to pay the tax man when they don't make the 50 mile per gallon fleet average. You want to keep your loyal truck fans. How do you do that? Well, I'd say roughly half of the people all the companies I sell to need an F-150. But of the, traditional buyer, the mom and pop buyer, a lot of them like the idea of an F-150, and a whole lot of them don't need an F-150.
So you don't have the budget for that.